Millionaire stops cold when he sees Black Beggar with photo of mom and reveals shocking secret. Okay, picture this. Jack Sterling, Mr. Wall Street himself, stepping out of his fancy Bentley, right? Gala night, all the cameras flashing, the whole shebang. But bam! He freezes, not because of the paparazzi, but because he sees her. This little girl, maybe 5 years old, huddled in a doorway like a lost puppy. Biracial, big eyes, and holding something that made Jack's blood run cold. A picture. A tattered, old photo of Sarah, Jack's wife, who vanished without a trace months ago. Vanished! The cops, the PIs, nada. Gone. And now this kid? He's thinking, this can't be real. But then the girl looks up, and it's like Sarah's staring right back at him. Those same eyes, that little tilt of the head. "Mommy," she whispers, clutching the photo like it's her lifeline. Jack's world tilts. "Mommy?" Sarah never mentioned a kid, ever. He kneels down. Expensive suit be damned. "Hey, sweetie, what's your name?" "Lily," she mumbles, barely audible. "Lily." Sarah always loved lilies. Another punch to the gut. "Lily, who's your mother?" Jack asks, his voice shaking. She points to the photo. That's her. His mind is racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. Could this be Sarah's secret? A daughter he never knew? He reaches out, touches Lily's cheek. The resemblance is undeniable. "Where do you live, Lily?" She points down a dark alley. "Home." Jack's gut twists. He can't leave her there. Not now. He makes a snap decision. "Lily, how would you like to come with me?" Her eyes light up, just a little. But before she can answer, a voice booms out of the shadows. "Get away from her!" This woman, tall and angry, steps out. "Leave her alone, mister." "I just want to help," Jack says, trying to stay calm. "We don't need your kind of help," she snaps, "especially after what you did to Sarah." Boom! What he did to Sarah? How does she know Sarah? The gala, the money, the whole charade fades away. He's standing on the edge of something huge, something dangerous. The woman grabs Lily's hand, pulls her away. "Come on, Lily. We're leaving." They disappear into the darkness, leaving Jack with 1,000,000 questions buzzing in his head. Who is this woman? What happened to Sarah? And is Lily really his daughter? He pulls out his phone, dials a number. "Find me everything you can on a woman named Beatrice and a little girl named Lily. Now." "Ei, antes de continuarmos com essa história incrível, preciso te fazer alerta importante. Muitos inscritos têm relatado que o YouTube removeu suas inscrições sem aviso. Dá só uma conferida rápida no botão vermelho aí embaixo para garantir que você ainda está inscrito no canal. Não quero que você perca nenhum conteúdo exclusivo que vem por aí. E já que você tá aí, deixa aquele like poderoso que me ajuda muito com o algoritmo. E me conta nos comentários de qual cidade você está assistindo. Adoro conhecer cada pessoa incrível que faz parte dessa comunidade. Sua participação faz toda a diferença. Vamos interagir. He pulls out his phone, dials a number. "Find me everything you can on a woman named Beatrice and a little girl named Lily." Now, the next few hours are a blur. Jack can't shake the image of Lily's face, the way she looked at him, the desperation in her eyes. He paces his penthouse, the city lights twinkling below, feeling more lost than ever. Where was Sarah? And how did a 5-year-old fit into any of this? His phone rings. It's his guy, Tony. Got something, Jack. Beatrice Morales. No criminal record. Works as a waitress downtown. Single mother. And Lily? Lily Morales. 5 years old. Everything checks out. Except. Except what, Tony? Spit it out. Jack's voice is tight. There's no birth certificate for Lily. Nothing official. It's like she just appeared. Jack feels a chill run down his spine. Keep digging, Tony. I want to know everything. And I mean everything. He hangs up, staring out the window. Something's not right. This whole thing stinks. He needs to see Beatrice, needs to understand what she knows about Sarah. The next morning, Jack finds the diner where Beatrice works. It's a hole-in-the-wall place. Greasy spoons and worn-out booths. He sits down, orders coffee, and waits. When Beatrice comes over, he can see the fear in her eyes. "Beatrice," he says, his voice low, "I need to talk to you about Sarah." She freezes. "I don't know any Sarah." "Don't lie to me. I saw you last night. You know exactly who I'm talking about." She looks around nervously, then leans in close. "Okay, fine. I know Sarah, but I can't tell you anything. It's too dangerous." "Dangerous? What are you talking about?" Suddenly, the diner door bursts open. 2 guys in dark suits rush in. Scanning the room, they spot Jack and Beatrice and head straight for them. "Mr. Sterling," one of them says, his voice cold, "we need to have a word with you." Jack tenses up. Bodyguards? But who sent them? Before he can react, one of the guys grabs Beatrice. "Come with us." "No! Leave her alone!" Jack shouts, jumping to his feet. A fight breaks out. Coffee cups shatter. Chairs go flying. Jack manages to knock one of the guys down, but the other one is too quick. He pulls out a gun. Everything goes silent. Then, bam. Not from the gun, but from the TV screen above the counter. A breaking news alert flashes. Sarah Sterling found alive. Jack's world stops. Sarah? Alive? The news anchor continues. Sarah Sterling, presumed dead after disappearing 6 months ago, has been found safe and sound in, wait for it, Buenos Aires. Apparently, she's been living there under an assumed name. But that's not the shocking part. The anchor clears her throat, and in an even more bizarre twist. Sources say Sarah Sterling has been working as an international art thief. Jack is stunned. Sarah? An art thief? His Sarah? But then the anchor shows a picture. A recent photo of Sarah, smiling, with long dark hair. And standing next to her is a little boy, about 5 years old. The anchor's voice drips with drama. Authorities believe this child is Sarah Sterling's son, father unknown. But get this, the boy's name? Jack. Little Jack. Beatrice gasps. Even the goons freeze. Jack feels like he's been hit by a truck. Another kid? Another secret life? What the hell is going on? But then another image flashes on the screen. It's a composite sketch. A man. The police are calling him the Buenos Aires Bandit. The art thief Sarah has been working with. And Jack Sterling realizes, with a sickening lurch, it's him. Well, it's a younger version of him. A version of him he hasn't seen in decades. The anchor's voice cuts through his shock. Anyone with information on the Buenos Aires Bandit is urged to contact authorities immediately. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous, and he's the spitting image of Jack Sterling. Jack is stunned. Sarah? An art thief? His Sarah? But then, another image flashes on the screen. It's a composite sketch, a man. The police are calling him the Buenos Aires bandit, the art thief Sarah has been working with. And Jack Sterling realizes, with a sickening lurch, it's him. Well, it's a younger version of him. A version of him he hasn't seen in decades. The anchor's voice cuts through his shock. Anyone with information on the Buenos Aires bandit is urged to contact authorities immediately. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous. And he's the spitting image of Jack Sterling. Beatrice gasps. Even the goons freeze. Jack feels like he's been hit by a truck. Another kid? Another secret life? What the hell is going on? But then, the goons don't hesitate. They grab Jack. He barely resists, his mind reeling. He's being hauled out of the diner, back into the Bentley, the news report echoing in his head. He's the Buenos Aires bandit? Impossible. But the picture, damn it, it was him. Younger, yes, but undeniably him. He looks at his hands. Clean hands, Wall Street hands, not the hands of a thief. Then the memory hits him like a tidal wave. A different life, a different name. Ricardo, Buenos Aires, Sarah, art. Oh God, it wasn't a dream. It was real. He was Ricardo. He did steal art. He did love Sarah. A second identity, buried so deep even he forgot. But how? How could he forget years of his life? A whole other existence. He looks at the goons. Bodyguards? No, they're cleaners, hired to erase mistakes. Like him. Suddenly, the car swerves violently. A screech of tires, glass shattering. Everything goes black. He wakes up in a hospital bed, machines beeping, a doctor hovering. Mr. Sterling, you're awake. You were in an accident. Lucky to be alive. Jack tries to sit up, but pain shoots through his body. Sarah, the Buenos Aires bandit, the boy. The doctor frowns. Mr. Sterling, you seem confused. You were in a single car accident. No one else was involved. And Sarah Sterling, she's your wife. She's been by your side since you were admitted. Sarah? The door opens and Sarah walks in. She looks different. Her eyes are cold, hard. Jack, darling, you're awake. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. The news. Buenos Aires. The art? Sarah cuts him off. Shh, darling. You're still recovering. Don't worry about any of that. It was just a story. A silly misunderstanding. She leans in close, her voice a whisper. You don't remember anything, do you? About Ricardo? He shakes his head. Confusion swirling in his brain. Good. She pulls. Back. Her smile widening. Because Ricardo is gone. And Jack is going to forget all about Beatrice and Lily too. Isn't that right, darling? She pats his hand, then turns to the doctor. He needs more rest. Make sure he gets it. Sarah walks out, leaving Jack alone with his shattered memories and a terrifying realization. He wasn't just living a lie. He was being controlled. And the woman he thought he loved was the one pulling the strings. But what kind of game was she playing? And what was? What's she going to do with him now? She pats his hand, then turns to the doctor. He needs more rest. Make sure he gets it. Sarah walks out, leaving Jack alone with his shattered memories and a terrifying realization. He wasn't just living a lie, he was being controlled, and the woman he thought he loved was the one pulling the strings. But what kind of game was she playing? And what was she going to do with him now? He needed to get out, now. He feigned sleep as the doctor tinkered with the IV drip, waited until the coast was clear. Then, slowly, agonizingly, he swung his legs over the side of the bed. Pain ripped through him, but adrenaline kept him moving. He ripped off the hospital gown, found some discarded clothes in a locker. Way too small, but who cared? He slipped out the door, down the sterile hallway, a ghost in stolen scrubs. Nurses bustled past, oblivious. He found an exit, burst out into the cool night air. He needed to find Beatrice and Lily. He hailed a cab, gave the driver the diner's address. His head was swimming, memories flickering like a broken projector. Ricardo, Buenos Aires, the thrill of the heist, Sarah's fiery passion, and then nothing. A blank space where years should be. The cab screeched to a halt outside the diner. It was closed, dark. A closed sign hung crookedly on the door. Damn it! He banged on the glass, desperate. No answer. Where were they? He pulled out his phone, tried Tony's number. No signal. The hospital must have messed with something. He swore under his breath. He needed help. Someone he could trust. But who could he trust? Then a name flashed in his mind. Someone from his other life. Someone who knew Ricardo, knew Sarah, knew the truth. Isabella. He remembered her address, a small apartment in Little Italy. He jumped back in the cab, barked out the new destination. The cab pulled up to a run-down building. Graffiti-covered walls, flickering streetlights. He paid the driver, ran up the stairs, his heart pounding. He knocked on the door, hard. Silence. He knocked again. Isabella, it's me, Ricardo. A peephole opened. A wary eye peered out. Ricardo? The door creaked open. It can't be. Isabella stood there, older, but still with that fiery spark in her eyes. Isabella, I need your help. Sarah. He didn't get to finish. A gunshot. Isabella crumpled to the floor, a crimson stain blooming on her chest. Jack stared in horror, his mind reeling. Then he heard it. A familiar laugh. Sarah. She stepped out of the shadows, a gun in her hand, her face a mask of cold fury. Surprise, darling, she said, her voice dripping with venom. Did you really think you could escape me? He stared at her, speechless. You see, Jack, or should I say Ricardo, you were always a pawn in my game, a useful idiot. And now, you're nothing but a liability. She raised the gun. But don't worry, she purred. It'll all be over soon. Suddenly, a voice boomed from behind her. Drop the gun, Sarah. It was Lily, standing in the hallway, her small hand pointing, not a gun, but a remote control. And strapped to Sarah's chest was a bomb. Lily looked at Jack, her eyes filled with a heartbreaking mix of fear and determination. I'm sorry, Daddy, she whispered, but it's the only way. Daddy? Then the world exploded. Daddy? Then the world exploded. Not a bang, not a boom, but a silent, blinding flash. Then, nothing. Just a ringing in his ears and a white-hot pain searing through every inch of his body. He was flying, tumbling, and then blackness. He blinked, or tried to. His eyes felt glued, shut. He could taste blood, feel grit on his skin. Where was he? Slowly, painfully, he managed to pry his eyelids apart. Dust motes danced in the dim light. He was lying on his back, surrounded by rubble. The building, Isabella's apartment, it was gone. Just a crater filled with twisted metal and broken brick. Lily, Sarah. He tried to move, but a searing pain shot up his leg. He looked down. His leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, pinned beneath a chunk of concrete. He screamed. Then he heard a noise. A shuffling sound coming from the shadows. He strained his eyes, trying to see through the dust and debris. A figure emerged, small, covered in soot. Lily, she was alive. Relief washed over him, so intense it almost made him pass out. Lily, he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. She didn't answer. She just stood there, staring at him. Her eyes, they were different, cold, empty. Lily, help me, he pleaded. I'm trapped. She took a step closer, and then another. He saw something in her hand. A small, silver object, a remote control. Not the one she used to. He tried to scramble away, but the pain in his leg was unbearable. Lily, what are you doing? He gasped. She stopped just a few feet away. Her face was expressionless. You shouldn't have come back, Daddy, she said, her voice flat, robotic. Daddy? Again with the daddy? He stared at her, a horrifying realization dawning in his mind. Sarah, she programmed you, didn't she? Lily didn't answer. She just raised the remote. Then, a voice cut through the silence. That's far enough, Lily. A man stepped out of the shadows, tall, imposing. He was dressed in a dark suit, and his face was hidden behind a gas mask. He pointed a gun at Lily. Drop the remote, kid, he said, his voice muffled by the mask. Lily didn't move. I said drop it, the man shouted. Lily hesitated. Then, slowly, she lowered her hand. The man lunged forward, snatched the remote from her grasp. He turned to Jack. Don't worry, Mr. Sterling, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. I'm here to help. He knelt down beside him, carefully examining his leg. This is going to hurt, he said. Then he did something that made Jack's blood run cold. He pulled out a knife. Not to cut him free, but to... He plunged the knife into Jack's leg. Jack screamed again, a primal animal sound. The man ignored him. He just twisted the knife, his movements precise, deliberate. What are you doing? Jack choked out. The man leaned in close, his eyes glinting behind the mask. I'm saving you, Mr. Sterling, he whispered. From yourself. Then he did something even more shocking. He reached up and ripped off his gas mask. Jack stared at him, his mind reeling. It was him, but it couldn't be. It was him, older, wiser, crueler. It was Jack Sterling, but it wasn't him. It was Ricardo, and he had a score to settle. I'm saving you, Mr. Sterling, he whispered. From yourself. Then he did something even more shocking. He reached up and ripped off his gas mask. Jack stared at him, his mind reeling. It was him, but it couldn't be. It was him, older, wiser, crueler. It was Jack Sterling. But it wasn't him. It was Ricardo, and he had a score to settle. Ricardo pressed the knife deeper. Jack screamed, the sound lost in the echo of the explosion. His vision blurred, black spots dancing before his eyes. "Why?" he gasped, the word a bloody bubble. Ricardo smiled, a chilling, predatory grin. "Because you took my life, Jack. You stole my memories, my love, my very soul. Now I'm taking it back." He twisted the knife again. Agony exploded in Jack's leg. He felt himself fading, slipping away into the darkness. Suddenly, a blur of motion, a screech, a deafening roar. A motorcycle, impossibly, was barreling towards them through the rubble. The rider, a figure clad in black leather, dunned the engine, the headlight slicing through the dust. Ricardo looked up, startled. The motorcycle slammed into him, sending him flying through the air. The knife clattered to the ground. Jack watched, dazed, as the rider dismounted, helmet obscuring their face. They moved with a speed and precision that was almost inhuman. The rider knelt beside Jack, their touch surprisingly gentle. "Hang on," a voice said, muffled by the helmet. "I'm getting you out of here." They worked quickly, efficiently, freeing Jack's leg from the concrete. The pain was excruciating, but he gritted his teeth, determined to survive. As they lifted him into their arms, Jack finally saw their face. It wasn't a man. It wasn't a woman. It was Lily. But not the Lily he had just seen. The programmed puppet with cold, dead eyes. This Lily was older, maybe in her late teens, her face hardened with experience. But her eyes were filled with a fierce, burning light. Who are you?" Jack stammered, his voice weak. Lily smiled, a sad, knowing smile. "I'm your daughter, Jack, the real Lily." Then she revved the engine and sped off into the night, leaving the crater, the rubble, and the other Jack Sterling behind. As they wove through the deserted streets, Jack blacked out. He woke up in a safe house, lying on a cot, wrapped in blankets. Lily was there, watching over him, her face etched with worry. Where are we?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Safe," she said. "For now." She explained everything. Sarah wasn't just an art thief. She was a master manipulator, a puppet master who controlled people like chess pieces. The Ricardo persona, the lost years, it was all her doing. She had used advanced hypnosis and experimental drugs to create and erase identities, all to further her own twisted agenda. And the other Lily, the little girl with the remote? She was a clone, a perfect copy, created in a lab, programmed to obey Sarah's every command. But Lily? The real Lily? She had escaped years ago, after discovering Sarah's horrific experiments. She had been training ever since, preparing for this day. "I knew she'd come after you," Lily said, her voice filled with anger. "I knew she'd try to use you again." "But why?" Jack asked, confused. "Why all of this?" Lily hesitated, her eyes filled with pain. Because you weren't just a pawn, Dad. You were her greatest love and her greatest regret." She took a deep breath, her voice trembling. You see, before all the lies, the manipulation, you and Sarah had another child. A son. Jack stared at her, stunned. Another child? Sarah couldn't handle it. She gave him away. Sold him, really, to some black market adoption ring. She's been searching for him ever since. Everything she's done, all the art heists, the double identities, it's all been to find him. Jack's mind reeled. 2 daughters he never knew. A son lost to them. World. And Sarah, a woman driven mad by grief and obsession. Where is he? Jack asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lily shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. I don't know, but I think Sarah might be close. Suddenly, a phone rang. Lily answered it, her face growing pale. They found him, she said, her voice trembling. They found your son, Dad. She looked at Jack, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and dread. He's in Buenos Aires. And that's when the other phone rang, and Lily listened for only a minute. When she hung up, she looked to Jack with a face so terrible it broke his heart. What is it? He asked, afraid of the answer. They've got your son, she whispered. And Sarah just called. She said if you want to see him alive again, you have to kill Ricardo. They've got your son, she whispered. And Sarah just called. She said if you want to see him alive again, you have to kill Ricardo. Kill Ricardo? His other self? His lost years were a twisted nightmare, but they were still him. How could he kill himself? That's insane, Jack choked out, clutching his throbbing leg. Lily's eyes were hard. She's not playing, Dad. I know her. She'll do it. She'll kill him. He looked at her, his heart breaking. She was just a kid, thrown into this chaos, and now she was asking him to commit murder. Suicide, almost. There has to be another way, he said, his voice pleading. Lily shook her head. There isn't. Sarah's cornered. This is her last play, and she's holding all the cards. He closed his eyes, the weight of the world crashing down on him. His son, a stranger. Ricardo, a ghost. Sarah, a monster. And him, just a pawn. Okay, he said, his voice barely audible. Okay, I'll do it. Lily looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and horror. I'll help you, she said, but you have to promise me you won't become him. You won't let Sarah win. He nodded, his jaw clenched. I promise. They made a plan, a desperate, reckless plan. They would go to Buenos Aires. They would find Sarah, and he would confront Ricardo. But as they prepared to leave, Lily stopped him. There's something you need to know, she said, her voice hesitant. He turned to her, his heart pounding. About your son, she continued, her eyes fixed on the floor. He's not who you think he is. He frowned. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. His name, it's not Jack. It's... Suddenly, the safe house door burst open. A figure stormed in, gun blazing. Liar! Sarah screamed, her face contorted with rage. You've been lying to him all along. She fired again. Lily dived for cover. Jack scrambled back, his legs screaming in pain. But Sarah wasn't aiming at them. She was aiming at the wall behind them, at a faded photograph taped to the brick. A photograph of a young boy. A boy with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. A boy who looked exactly like Lily. Jack stared at the photo, his mind shattering. He's not your son. Jack, Sarah shrieked, her voice hysterical. "He's your brother. The baby I gave away, it wasn't a boy, it was her. I changed her name, hid her away, but she found you. She always finds a way." Lily froze, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. "It's true," Sarah sobbed, her voice cracking. "I couldn't bear to lose another child, so I remade her into the son I never had." Jack looked from Sarah to Lily, his head spinning. "That's why she wants you to kill Ricardo," Sarah screamed. "Because Ricardo knows. He remembers. He knows that Jack is really Jackeline." Lily? Jackeline? His daughter was his brother? The world tilted. Everything he thought he knew, everything he believed, it was all a lie. A twisted, sick joke. He looked at Lily, Jackeline, and saw not a daughter, not a brother, but a stranger. A stranger with a secret so profound, so devastating, it threatened to destroy them all. But the worst was yet to come, because at that moment, Ricardo walked through the door, and in his hand, he held a gun, pointed directly at Jackeline. Ricardo walked through the door, and in his hand, he held a gun, pointed directly at Jackeline. Time seemed to stop. Jackeline, Lily, whatever her name was, she just stared at Ricardo, her face blank. Sarah was screaming, a banshee wail that made your teeth hurt. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. My head was about to explode. Ricardo, this other me, just smirked. "So, the truth comes out. You always were a sentimental fool, Sarah." He shifted the gun, now aimed at me. "But don't worry, I'll make this quick. One bullet, one life erased. Problem solved." He started to squeeze the trigger. I braced myself. This was it. Then Jackeline moved, faster than I thought possible. She threw herself in front of me, shielding me with her body. Bang. Everything went silent. Sarah stopped screaming. Ricardo's smirk vanished. I just stared at Jackeline, a crimson stain spreading across her chest. She crumpled to the floor, right at my feet. "Jackeline," I yelled, kneeling beside her. Blood was everywhere. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with pain. "Dad," she whispered. I always wanted." She coughed, blood bubbling from her lips. "A family." And then she was gone, dead, right in front of me. I lost it. I screamed, a sound that came from the depths of my soul. Pure, raw agony. Ricardo just stood there, watching me, a cold, detached look on his face. "Sentimental fool," he repeated, almost to himself. Sarah started to sob, a low, guttural sound. Even she seemed shocked. I don't know what happened next. Something snapped inside me. I lunged at Ricardo, blind with rage. I didn't care about the gun, about anything. I just wanted to kill him. We wrestled, a brutal, desperate fight. He was stronger than me, younger, but I was fueled by something else. By grief, by guilt, by the burning need for revenge. We crashed through the room, knocking over furniture, smashing everything in our path. He punched me, kicked me, but I kept coming. I wouldn't let him go. Finally, I managed to get on top of him. I straddled him, pinning his arms to the ground. He struggled, but I was too strong. I started to punch him, over and over again. His face was a bloody mess. He stopped fighting. He just stared up at me, his eyes filled with something. Fear? Regret? I couldn't tell. I raised my fist for one final blow, and then I saw it, a birthmark, on his arm. A small, heart-shaped birthmark. The same birthmark that Sarah had described. The one she said her lost son had. I froze. My fist hovered in the air. Ricardo, this other me. He was my son. My son, the one I was about to kill. The room started to spin. I felt like I was going to be sick. I stumbled back, away from him. I couldn't breathe. He looked up at me, his eyes pleading. "Dad?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Dad, help me!" And then everything went black. E então, tudo ficou preto. Quando acordei, estava deitado no chão, tremendo. A cabeça latejava. Olhei em volta. O lugar era um caos. Móveis quebrados. Sangue por todo lado. Sarah sumiu. Jackeline. Morta. Ricardo. Meu filho. Também sumido. O que eu ia fazer? Levantei, cambaleando. Precisava sair dali. Precisava encontrar Ricardo. Precisava entender o que estava acontecendo. Saí cambaleando para a rua. Peguei um táxi, pedi para me levar para o aeroporto. Precisava ir para longe. Precisava pensar. No avião, não consegui dormir. As imagens não saíam da minha cabeça. Jackeline morta. Ricardo sumido. Sarah uma louca. Quem era eu afinal? Jack Sterling? Ricardo? Pai? Assassino? Quando o avião pousou, eu já tinha tomado uma decisão. Não podia fugir. Não podia deixar Ricardo nas mãos de Sarah. Precisava encontrá-lo. Precisava salvá-lo. Mas como? De repente uma memória. Uma conversa antiga com Sarah. Algo sobre o esconderijo. Um lugar secreto em Buenos Aires. Um lugar onde ela guardava seus segredos. Voltei para o aeroporto. Comprei uma passagem para Buenos Aires. Precisava ir lá. Precisava encontrar aquele lugar. Cheguei em Buenos Aires, aluguei um carro, dirigi até o endereço que Sarah tinha mencionado. Era uma casa antiga, abandonada, nos arredores da cidade. Entrei na casa, cauteloso. Estava tudo escuro, empoeirado. Senti um arrepio na espinha. Comecei a procurar. Abri gavetas, revirei armários. Nada. De repente, ouvi um barulho. Um som abafado vindo do porão. Peguei uma arma que tinha encontrado no carro, desci as escadas. O porão era escuro, úmido. Havia um cheiro forte de mofo. Andei devagar, com a arma em punho. E então eu vi, em uma cela no fundo do porão, estava Ricardo, amordaçado, amarrado a uma cadeira. Corri até ele, comecei a soltá-lo. "Pai?" ele perguntou, a voz fraca. "Estou aqui, filho. Estou aqui." Eu respondi, as lágrimas escorrendo pelo meu rosto. De repente, uma voz. Que cena emocionante, não é? Sarah. Ela estava parada na porta do porão, com uma arma apontada para nós. "Pensei que tinha me livrado de você, Jack." Ela disse, a voz fria. "Mas você sempre estraga tudo." Eu olhei para ela furioso. "Por que, Sarah? Por que tudo isso?" Ela riu, uma risada histérica. "Porque eu amo você, Jack. Sempre amei, mas você nunca me amou de volta. Você sempre preferiu aquela vadia da Jackeline." Ela apertou o gatilho, mas a arma não disparou. "Surpresa, mamãe!" disse uma voz. Olhamos para a porta. Jackeline estava lá. Viva! Ela sorriu. Achou mesmo que ia se livrar de mim tão fácil? E então, ela revelou a verdade. A Jackeline que tinha morrido não era ela. Era outro clone. Mais um dos joguetes de Sarah. Jackeline sorriu. Um sorriso triste e doce. Eu sempre estive do seu lado, mesmo quando você não sabia. Sacou 2 armas escondidas sob el casaco. Una para Sarah, otra para Ricardo. Sarah cayó, sin un son. Ricardo hesitó, sorpreso. Jackeline no. Él la atiró de nuevo, y de nuevo. Ricardo cambaleó, cayó al lado del clone de Jackeline. La casa estaba silenciosa, excepto por el sonido de mis soluços. Jackeline se aproximó de mí, con ojos llenos de lágrimas. Está todo acabado, pai. Está todo acabado. Lo abracé fuerte, con miedo de que ella desapareciera. Pero ella estaba allí, real, mi hija, mi filia. Jackeline. Nos afastamos de Sarah e de Ricardo. Eles estavam mortos, mas as mentiras deles viveriam para sempre. Jackeline e eu temos muito trabalho a fazer para finalmente descobrirmos a verdade. Mas o que realmente aconteceu? Quem é realmente Jackeline? E por que essa história ainda não acabou? Ei, você precisa se inscrever agora. Só os verdadeiros fãs se inscrevem. Esmague o like agora. Alimente o algoritmo com sua força. Inunde os comentários com suas teorias. Queremos saber o que você pensa. Compartilhe este vídeo com 5 amigos agora. Eles precisam saber disso. Não espere nem mais um segundo.